Justin Morton took the flag last week at Southern National, but J.R. Shepherd still holds a 4-point lead over his closest rival, Matthew Thunhorst. Will we see the continued domination of J.R. Shepherd, or will someone new take hold and wrestle the title away? Find out live on the Virtual Grip Network as we bring to you the BRL Grand National Series presented by Gargamel's Kitchen, live from the virtual Myrtle Beach Speedway in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We are excited to have you with us. I am your host, Taylor Burris. Alongside me is John Hine, and of course, our wonderful producer, Daniel Handover, is here with us. And John, we are here at one of the most famous short tracks in the Southeast, Myrtle Beach Speedway, a beautiful circuit that can provide a lot of unique challenges.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite tracks that I went to most often when I was doing a lot of the asphalt stuff, because both ends of the track will give you different challenges as a driver. You know, one, you have to arc a car in to get it sweeping through turns 1 and 2 to keep your speed up. And when you arc it in, the guy behind you, that's going to look like there's an opening for them to stick that car in. So that, can cause some action for us. And then the other end of the track, the whole key to that corner is getting off and running down that front straightaway, getting the best run off the corner. So some guys will back their car up earlier. So meaning hitting their brakes earlier, which you got different guys that do that at different points. Again, creating some excitement for us as the drivers try to juggle those challenges.
Certainly is indeed going to be interesting to see how they're going to be able to negotiate. But as we take a look at the point standings here today, a lot is changed since that last race, but it is still J.R. Shepherd who holds on. Matthew Thunhorst is sitting in second, and then, of course, Morton is sitting in third after his extraordinary win last week at Southern National. Kenny Kibbe rounds out your top four, but John, a lot of exciting drivers have been able to work their way up through the points. Who are some of the ones that you're surprised who have made their way through the point standings?
Well, it's really good to see Joe Sagala, Ryan Seneca, those guys, they almost look like the next tier behind that big four up there that are all clustered up. So it'll be interesting to see if they can continue to improve tonight, get a good run. They get a couple, back-to-back runs together, and they can climb right back in this title fight. So those are the two guys that I think I like to see, good things out of tonight. But, you really got to look at that top four there. Those guys are consistently towards the front week in and week out. Those guys are going to be really tough to gain on and even tougher to beat at the end of the day.
It certainly is. And of course, tonight's race is brought to you by Gargamel's Kitchen. Of course, Gargamel's Kitchen is a food-grade nitrous oxide provider located in Denver, Colorado, and a proud sponsor of the Bootleg Racing League. Visit their office at 2045 South Valentia Street or give them a call at 720-707-6178. We would like to say thank you to Gargamel's Kitchen for their continued support with the BRL. Practice is just getting ready to be wrapping up here. We do not have qualifying, of course, because how we set the field is we go based off of finishing positions from 9th on back. However, the top 8 is inverted. So whoever wins the race from the previous race will be starting in 8th place, while the driver who finishes in 8th place will be starting on the pole position here, which, of course, we know Justin Morton took home the checkered flag. He will be starting 8th. It's going to be interesting to see how he will work his way through the field tonight, John.
Yeah, he's going to have his work cut out for him. And, the nice thing is this track can sometimes provide, multiple grooves, especially down there in 1 and 2. So he may have some options to get up there. But if not, he's going to have to be really patient, not make any mistakes, and just work his way around guys and try to get up there to get another win.
Going to be interesting to see as we take a look at the practice times right now. It's Brian 10 who has the fastest time with a 19.657. James Lowe, Mark Herzog round out your top 3 with all of them running in the 19.6 bracket, as we're waiting to see if a couple of more cars are going to get out on the track to finish their practice runs. Matthew Thunhorst has yet to lay down a practice lap during this time, but still not a lot of time left. We're getting ready to give you your starting lineup here momentarily.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fun to watch these guys here tonight, even the ones that are a little further back that might not have gotten in the top 8 there. Everybody can have tracks that they're good at. Some guys will have tracks that they're not so good at. So you never know one of those back guys, just because they're a little further back. You never know if this could be one of their strong suits where they can make their way forward too.
We will certainly see who will come out on top indeed. John, as we get ready for your starting lineup of tonight's event. On the pole in the number 44, it will be Jeffrey Harden. Second place will go to Todd Liston with James Lowe in third position. Brian Den will be starting in the fourth position, followed by Kenny Kibbe in fifth position. Sixth position will go to Matthew Thunhorst with J.R. Shepard in seventh. Last week's winner, Justin Morton, will start in eighth. Tim Shanoski will start in ninth, and Ruben Altice will round out your top 10.
Starting 11th will be Ryan Seneker. Starting 12th will be Joe Sagala. Then going over to 13th will be Kurt Smith. 14th will be Lowell Jewell. Starting in the 15th position will be Austin Belkey. And Jason Mendo will be starting in 16th. Then you got Mark Herzog in 17th, Bruce Pearson in 18th. Then the last row tonight, it looks like maybe will be Mike Holloway and Chris Wolfson.
The iRacing pace car, the Ford Mustang, leads the field off onto this beautiful circuit here. Of course, this circuit, Myrtle Beach, is just about half a mile. Of course, 4 turns here at this circuit. The banking is going to provide a little bit of challenges, as we already have a little bit of trouble for the 11 of Ruben Altice, as something happened to him. I want to take a look at that. He is currently got his car turned around.
Or if he hit one of those turtles coming out.
No, it looks like he got turned around by the 52 of Lowell Jewell. Tough break early here, but as the field works their way around behind the iRacing pace car, we're about to turn these stars here tonight of the BRL loose for 100 laps or 1 hour, whichever comes first. As Ruben Altice gets away, pace car pulls down pit road as the cars and stars of the BRL work their way through turn number 4. It is Harden and Liston that will lead them to the green flag. Barney the flagman has the flag in air, green flag is out, and we are underway here as they battle at the beach. Heading down into turns 1 and 2, Jeffrey Harden gets a great jump on the field, working off of turn number 2. He will pull out to about 2 car length as James Lowe will move up into second as the battle for second works their way through turn number 3 and 4. Trouble in the back as multiple cars will end up turned around.
Yeah, it looked like the number 8 was the first one to get turned around there coming out through that corner there, and that bottom line was definitely moving as they were going through there.
Let's take a look at that, because Matthew Thunhorst is one of our championship competitors. And as they work through turn 3 and 4, just a little bit checkup. Justin Morton gets into the back bumper, collects 4 more cars involved. I believe that's going to include Ryan Seneker, Ruben Altice, and Jason Menda involved in that contact here. So a tough break for one of your championship competitors here today, John, as he is involved in a very early caution.
Yeah, and you know, that's good news for him is it was early, so he's going to have a long time to work his way back up and recover from it. The bad news is it looks like he's probably going to have to take a fast repair, I'm guessing, so that's going to use that up early, but he's got a long way to go here, and that was one of those where I talked earlier about, you know, different people, different braking points that look like a couple cars up, braked a little bit earlier than the person in front of them anticipated. Then you start checking up back through the field, and as soon as you get far enough back, you know, it becomes harder to not hit the guy in front of you, and that looks like that's pretty much what happened there.
Certainly is, as we are under caution for the first time here tonight on lap number 1 due to the incident. But John, how about that wonderful start that Jeffrey Harden in the 44 was able to pull out over both Todd Liston and James Lowe? A great jump on the field to be able to maintain the race lead, and he'll still have that lead when we go back green flag racing.
Yeah, and starting on the inside, I mean, that's going to be an advantage here, and he's got 2 advantages. One, he can dictate when the start is, and then that bottom line is the preferred line right now. So he's going to be able to get in there, and he doesn't have anybody to worry about. He can brake it where he wants to brake. He can drive it in as deep as he wants. So having that P1 spot on a restart is really important to getting a good start off. And the best thing about being up there, he doesn't have to use his tires nearly as hard as these other guys do.
He certainly does not, as the iRacing Ford Mustang pace car lights are off. About to make the hard left turn out of harm's way down pit road. It's going to be Harden and Lowe leading into the green flag as they work their way through turns 3 and 4. Barney the flagman will have the green flag ready in hand as they work off of turn 4. Harden waiting for this jump as they come out of 4. Green flag is back out, and we are once again underway here at Myrtle Beach. Jeffrey Harden gets a great jump as they enter into turns 1 and 2. James Lowe having to take a little bit of a deeper exit as the battle for third between Kibbe and Liston goes on as they dive it into turn 3.
Yeah, looking on the outside, J.R. Shepard is moving up to the outside of Liston there, so he's trying to work that second line in right off the bat here, it looks like.
Smart move by the multi-time champion, J.R. Shepard, as he tries to work the outside. Sitting in that 5th position, he has pressure from the 23 of Brian Dean as they work their way down the back straightaway. He's in a battle with the 07 of Tim Shanoski as they work off of turn number 4.
Yeah, great side-by-side racing to throw the pack there. That outside line looks like it's holding on. It'll be interesting to see how many laps they can go up there and keep it rolling like that. It puts a lot of pressure on the guy on the inside because they've got to work harder to keep that car to the inside, and it heats up those tires and then can put some wear into them pretty early on.
Certainly can as we go back up to the race lead right now. James Lowe was able to steal the race lead away from Jeffrey Harden. Will he try to pull a slide job? He'll push up Jeff Harden the track. New race leader, the 99 of James Lowe, as the 87 of Todd Liston gets a little bit of a bobble coming off of turn number 2. But as they work off of turn number 4, Jeffrey Harden struggling to maintain control of that number 44 as here comes J.R. Shepard to the inside.
Yeah, Kenny Kibbe came right up there with them too, 3 there. So you've got 3 really strong cars now that made their way up to the front, and JR is not far behind them. So I think we're going to see a 4-car battle here before long.
Certainly will indeed as they come across the line here. Still battling for third is J.R. Shepard and Jeffrey Harden. Then you have the 5th place car of Brian Dean, and then Todd Liston and Tim Shanoski battling for the 6th position. Shanoski will take over the position and try to go to the outside of Brian, but can't make it stick off of turn number 4, but give the 3rd position to J.R. Shepard. He completes the pass on Jeffrey Harden.
Yeah, and it looks like Jeff Harden was able to get back down to the inside there, so he's kind of stopped the bleeding for right now, being right in front of Brian Dean there. So hopefully now he can kind of regroup and try to recover and move his way back up.
Going to be interesting to see what our pole sitter can do here tonight as they work their way across the front straightaway. John, this track is basically one big oval. You have a little bit of a back straightaway to kind of breathe, but when you're on the front straightaway, you're still trying to set up for a turn because you're still turning on that front stretch.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's not a straight front stretch at all, and as you let the car swing out, if you let it go too far out, you hit the inside wall. But the big thing is trying to get that run off of 3, but then getting that turn in and doing it correctly to get through 1 and 2 to keep the speed up through 1 and 2 is just paramount here.
It certainly is paramount as we watch the battle for 5th between Dean and Shanoski. Shanoski already utilizing that outside to his advantage as he will steal the 5th spot away briefly. Here comes Todd Liston. He has to check up though, as there's a little bit of a checkup on that outside lane. Shanoski trying to make it work for him to get around the 23 of Brian Dean, but not working for him this time as they work through 3 and 4.
Yeah, that outside has been holding on a heck of a lot longer than what I thought it would. These guys are really doing a good job in being patient out there, and the guys on the inside are doing equally as a good job not to kind of get overzealous and overdrive it in the corner, because if they do, they're going to shove the nose and hit that guy on the outside, and that doesn't work out very well usually for the guy on the outside.
Certainly does not there, John. 2 cars are out of tonight's race so far. Ruben Altice has taken it out and it left the track. Lowe Jules still on pit road trying to see if he can get it fixed to get back out on the track, but he has severely damaged that number 52 right now as we continue to watch it single file for your top 6. Justin Morton is now getting around the 87 of Todd Liston as he'll look to the inside. Here comes Shanoski though. He'll look to the inside of Jeffrey Harden through 1 and 2.
Yeah, just left the door up a little bit, and Tim was able to get his car in there and take advantage of that. Now takes the spot away from him. And Brian Dean looks to be following him right behind in his tire tracks.
And it certainly is, as Brian's trying to fill the gap between him and Jeffrey Harden. But right now, Tim Shanoski will battle for that 4th position through 1 and 2.
Yeah, they're fighting hard for this position early on. Man, Jeff Harden got a little loose and up into the wall.
Tough break for Jeff Harden, and also Brian Dean collected in this incident as well. Still having trouble as he'll go end over end, land back on all 4s as the 81 of Joe Sagala will collect him. as we get ready to take a look at the VGN replay of what happened here.
Yeah, that was really bizarre looking. It looked like two different incidences almost.
Started with Jeffrey Harding going up the racetrack, getting collected. And then, of course, Brian Dean had nowhere to go for the most part after that, which was kind of weird because watching him now, Jeffrey Harding goes up the track and then just makes that small contact with Dean. Justin Morton, our last week's winner, barely made it through, but a couple of more cars, the 81 and the 45, and I believe one more car as well. The 57 of Mark Herzog also collected damage from that incident.
Yeah, and that was a tough break for Brian Dean. He barely got involved in that, just enough to get him out of shape down the back straightaway. He did a good job of getting the car to come to a stop, and you don't see guys do that too often where they actually hold the brake when they're in an accident. That's kind of what you're supposed to do there, and that looks like what he did there. But by doing that, sometimes these cars, if you're behind a car or another car, it's really hard to see through them. And I'm going to bet that Joe Sagala and the other ones that came in there, probably the guys in front of them, split them, and then all of a sudden it took them by surprise, and they just got collected into it.
Tough break from multiple drivers. Of course, Jeffrey Harding and Brian Dean running inside the top 5 up until that incident. Jason Menda came down pit road to service his car. Joe Sagala as well is still on pit road, I believe, as he just finished his stop. A couple of more cars also on pit road, still getting their fast repairs done.
Yeah, and this is going to be a really exciting restart now. Now you've got the top 3 that have been really quick, but now they're going to be put in different lanes. Kenny Kibbe's going to go outside, JR is going to go to 3rd. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of plans these guys make, because as a driver, you're already trying to size up what you're going to do coming to green. So if you're on the inside, you're making a plan. Okay, I've got to stay on the guy in front of me's run his bumper as close as you can so that guy can't get down. But the guys on the outside, and not only the front guys, but all the way through the back, they're going to be looking to get into the inside. So they're going to be looking for that hole to get their car into, while the guys on the bottom are going to be looking to plug those holes. So you're going to see 2 very different strategies as these guys fire off. And this is where it gets exciting as a driver and as a fan.
It certainly does. Fastest lap of the race so far goes to James Lowe with a 19.726. He is going to be your race leader when we get ready to restart the event, which we just got the 1 to go. Pace car lights are off. It's going to be James Lowe, Kenny Kibbe, JR Shepard, Tim Shanoski, and Justin Morton, your top 5, as Barry, the pace car driver, will head them down the back straightaway. He'll make the hard left turn to pit road as his brother Barney the Flagman will get things ready to go once again here. 24 laps complete. We are a quarter of the way through tonight's event. Out of turn 4, James Lowe gets another great start, and green flag is back underway here at Myrtle Beach Speedway. James Lowe gets a good jump, but here comes JR Shepard battling with Kenny Kibbe off of turn number 2, but Kibbe will prevail on the outside lane and slide to the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, Kenny got a good start. James Lowe got a great start and got it in, but Kenny was able to kind of maintain pace and be able to get down without losing that 2nd place. So that's a big victory on the start for the 2nd place driver here.
Certainly is, as we take a look at the battle for 4th between Justin Morton and Tim Shanoski. The 07 and the 9 will do battle here tonight as they work through turns 3 and 4. You have the 8 of Matthew Thunhorst, who was involved in the early lap 1 incident. He's now back in the mix inside the top 10. Kurt Smith as well in the 6, trying to also do battle. So you have 2 groups going side by side as they work down the back straightaway heading into 3.
Yeah, that's an impressive recovery by Thunhorst there, coming from the back and coming back to the front again. And that, like I said, was one of the advantages. If you're going to have trouble doing it early on, can be a real big advantage because you've got a long way to go to try to get yourself back up there.
The Alliance Motorsports Chevrolet of Matthew Thunhorst now will move into the top 5, while the Southern National winner from last week, Justin Morton, will drop back to the 6th position as they come across the line. 28 laps are completed. As they dive back into turn 1, it is still James Lowe, your leader. He has a 0.3 of a second advantage over Kenny Kibbe in the 14. As you're watching on screen, there's Brian Dean just getting around the 81 car. Brian, of course, sitting in that 15th position. There's the 44 of Jeffrey Harding, also getting around the 81 of Joe Sagala. They are on a mission here tonight to get back inside the top 10.
Yeah, and they got to be careful as they're coming up through here. You don't want to get too aggressive and burn those tires up. Remember, there's no pit stops. You can't change your tires in these races. So you got to make these tires last 100 laps. So as they're coming through, you know, you got to have a risk management on your mind as they're doing it, but they are coming.
They certainly are coming indeed as they work their way through. Here comes Tim Shanoski, who will battle on the outside against Matthew Thunhorst. Down the back straightaway, side-by-side battle for fourth. Thunhorst has a nose over Shanoski, but Shanoski will battle on the outside off of turn number 4, almost making contact, but they keep it clean and green as they dive it back into turn 1.
Boy, Matthew Thunhorst is putting on a driving clinic. This is really impressive how quickly he's actually, you know, come back through the field. We were talking, what, lap 5 or 6 when he had his issue. Now here we are about 25, 26 laps later. He is back in the top 49. What a great drive.
A superb drive indeed. Definitely going to be receiving an award for the drive of the night so far as he works his way inside the top 4. Now he's caught up to his championship rival, J.R. Shepherd, in front of him for that 3rd position. Will we possibly see these two go locking horns into a battle, or will they take care of their equipment and wait to the end of the race? Watching right now as they work through turns 1 and 2. It is going to be a little bit close as we now watch the battle between Jeffrey Harden as he will work his way around the 19. That is currently driven by Ryan Seneker.
Yeah, and they continue to make passes, just like what Thunhorst has done. They've had their trouble, went to the back, and now they're working their way through. And, you know, and one other thing about Thunhorst that I would be concerned about, as quickly as he's passed all those cars, how much of his tires has he used? That's going to be a storyline. We're only on lap 35. We still have over half the race to go. We'll see how that plays out towards the end.
He tried to take a look to the inside of J.R. Shepherd to no avail, but as we look a little further back, we have a couple of battles going on right now. You have the battle between Todd Liston and Kurt Smith, the 87 and the 6. Liston will prevail on the inside to get around that Winn-Dixie machine of Kurt Smith as they come off of turn number 4. Then a little further back, you have the battle for 10th position between Mark Herzog and the 17 of Crick Woolston.
Yeah, and then the number 2 of Mike Holloway is getting in there to kind of mix it up here. So this is a great little battle here between these 3 cars.
Of course, the thing we need to keep in mind for later on in the race is that 8th position, because wherever they finish in the 8th spot, as one car goes very wide, I believe that was Tim Shanoski, he makes brief contact to the outside wall and does a little wall riding, loses a position to Justin Morton.
Boy, mistakes, it doesn't take much. As close as this field is, you make one little mistake, and he's lucky to only get away with as far up as he went here, to only lose 1 spot and not get himself into more trouble. So that's a great save by Tim Shanoski there.
Certainly is, but back to that point, John, of course, with how this series is your top 8 is inverted for the next race. Kurt Smith currently sits in that 8th spot and will be your pole sitter for the next round. Later on in this race, depending on how you are, how important would it be to try to go for that 8th position?
Well, it depends on, you know, what your intent is. You know, if I'm back and I realize, hey, I've just got about an 8th, 9th place car, then yeah, you go for it, try to set yourself up for the next week. But you know what, at the end of the race, if you're passing cars and you're looking at your relative and you say, hey, I can get 3 or 4 more spots, and you know where you're running into points, well, go get those points and do what you can to get up there and see how far up you can go.
We'll see who will be able to get the pole position later tonight here as they work their way off of turn number 4 right now. It is still James Lowe who has gained an extra 10th over Kenny Kibbe, who sits in 2nd place. J.R. Shepherd, you have to go another 0.8 of a second back between him and Matthew Thunhorst, who will continue to battle for that 3rd position. Morton is about another 0.3 of a second back from this battle for 3rd. He's going to soon close in and make it a 3-car battle for the 3rd position. And then a 0.5 second back is Tim Shanoski. All 6 of those cars you see on your screen as they work through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, and this Matt Thunhorst now is in a real interesting position. He's probably been passing cars at will up to this point. And now with Justin Morton closing in on him, you know, is it a case where J.R. Shepherd's holding him up, or are they just managing the tires? But now he may be in a position where he has to defend a position from Justin Morton, trying not to get around him, which may put him in the position where he might want to force something to try to pass JR. So the real interesting to see how Matthew Thunhorst is going to handle these next few laps.
John, the importance of tire management on this asphalt series. Of course, there is no pit stops as far as making tire changes or fuel. you have to run what you started with for the most part. You can get a fast repair if you damage your car, which is only one, but still the importance of tire management for this race is so critical.
It absolutely is. I've ran a couple of these races this season, and being a dirt guy, I got in and I burned those tires off. I think at the end of the race, I had about 22% left on my tread, and I'm going to tell you that doesn't work very well. So that tire management, you've really got to manage it. The key is the first 20 or so laps. How you treat them at the beginning of the run is how they're going to treat you at the end of the run. So as we get on here, we're coming up on halfway. I would say when we get about from lap 60, you're going to start seeing the guys that took care of their tires probably start making their way back up to the front. The guys that really abused them the first part of that race, you're going to see them start to kind of fall back.
Certainly going to be interesting to see as the field has catched up towards the tail end of the lead lap cars. Jason Menda in the 45 Javelin machine is going to be the first car to be put one lap down. James Lowe is just basically a straightaway back from that position. Looking through the field right now to see if any other battles. You still have the battle for third between Shepard, Thunhorst, and Morton. Then you have the battle for seventh between Liston, Kurt Smith, Austin Belke. Throw in Mark Herzog, as well as the two of Mike Holloway.
Yeah, and right now, going back up to that third place position, Matthew Thunhorst got a little out of his shape. It looked like he was looking to the outside of JR there in turn 1 and 2. He gathered it back up, was able to keep Justin Morton behind him. But little bobbles like that will eat those tires up, so he's got to gather it back up, reel JR back in, and go back to work.
Certainly going to be interesting to see as Kurt Smith falls back. He's lost some time in some major positions. As he gets loose off of turn number 4, we'll take a little shortcut through the grass and fall all the way back to the 12th position.
Yeah, the little shortcut through the grass there, even though we use the word shortcut, it's not a shortcut. Yeah, that will kill your lap times. But boy, he does a great job of not knocking down that inside wall there along that pit wall.
Certainly is. As we just got the cross flags from Barney the Flag Man, we have just passed the halfway point of tonight's race. Great racing action. We only had 2 cautions so far, so let's keep it up, gentlemen, as they work their way across the start-finish line. You see the battle between Chris Wolfston and Kurt Smith on your screen right now. Kurt struggling with those tires a little bit by the sound of it as he is trying to hold on. Here comes Wolfston, though, on the outside as he's trying to battle for the position.
Yeah, the back end of his car, Kurt Smith's car, is looking pretty loose coming out of those corners, and he's really, really on the edge there. So if I know that and I'm up ahead of him on top there where Wolfson is, it makes me a little worried. I don't want that guy to come around and hit me. So we'll see how this whole battle comes down to it. But now Chris dives in behind him, and maybe he's going to try to go under him, maybe into 1 or into 3.
Couple of more cars struggling as Matthew Thunhorst lost the 4th position from Justin Morton right now, as Morton is sitting in the 4th position. Thunhorst dropped the position back. J.R. Shepard still holding strong to that 3rd position right now, as Kibbe and Lowe have pulled away by about 1.2 seconds over J.R. Shepard, as you're on board with the 81 of Joe Sagala.
Yeah, and JR, holding that position down, he's a guy, and it doesn't matter if it's here on the asphalt or the dirt. I was behind him at Knoxville a couple weeks ago on the dirt. That's a guy who doesn't matter what they're in, does not make mistakes. And that, I'm telling you, that is tough to be behind that guy. And, so they've got to figure that out. And I'm sure that both Justin Morton and Thunhorst are going to school right now, and they've got plenty of time here. They don't have to force it, but they got to find a way around him to get him to move up.
They certainly do, as the laps continue to wind down here tonight at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Still, the fastest lap goes to James Lowe from a 19.726. Kenny Kibbe, of course, trying to keep pace with them. And looking at the times, they're almost running identical lap times. And as they come across the line, let's see who sets the fastest lap last time by. It goes to Justin Morton with a 20.336 right now, so he is your fastest inside your top 5. He's really been taking care of those tires and able to keep pace and even run quite a bit faster than your rest of the field in the top 5.
Yeah, that's a good sign for him at this point in the race here with just 40 laps to go. And, we haven't had a lot of cautions, so they haven't had a lot of cycles cooling down and getting heat back into them. So if it continues to go green flag, that tire management just gets more and more important now.
Certainly does, as we watch them work their way through. Only one car is one lap down. That's Jason Menda. Still 2 cars out of tonight's race. Ruben Altice and Lowe, who are still behind the wall and out of the race here today. Looking through to see if we have any other exciting battles. There's the battle for 15th between Bruce Pearson and Joe Sagala. We were on board with him earlier. Sagala will look to the inside of Pearson, try to pull the slide job, and will complete the pass off of turn 2. Beautiful job by Joe.
Yeah, and Joe Sagala looks like he's been kind of probably pacing himself, and now you're looking at a case for a guy who's probably taking care of his tires, because I know earlier in the race, Pearson was probably a little quicker. So this is a guy who's looked after his tires and now is reaping the benefits of that.
He certainly is, as we watch these two battle it out, and now Sagala will pull away and set his sights on Chris Wolfston in the 17. He'll poke his nose to the inside, show it. Not close enough to make a pass just yet, but is making very good pace. In fact, ran a little faster than Chris Wolfston last time around.
Yeah, and going up front though, we've seen him, front to back here, and I'm wondering how long it's going to be before we see a challenge, big time challenge to lead, because these guys are probably, even though they've been out front running quick laps, I haven't seen too much of the battling going on. So it'll be interesting to see, when the gloves come off and they start really hammering on each other to try to get this win.
How about the battle for third position right now between J.R. Shepard and Justin Morton? Morton is right there along with Matthew Thunhorst. These 3 cars have been inseparable here since we went back green flag racing as they dive it through turns 3 and 4. Morton now utilizing that outside lane, diamonding the corners a little bit to get the momentum off corner exit and maybe try to stick his nose to the inside of J.R. Shepard off corner exit.
Yeah, and that crossover to get that nose in, and all of a sudden that'll take the turn in away from JR to do that. So it's very smart to do it. If JR cannot turn in, that automatically forces him to the higher line to the outside, and at that point he can just roll right on the bottom and maybe get on them, get them as they come out of the corner.
One thing, though, that Justin Morton, John, has to keep in mind is Matthew Thunhorst, when Justin goes tracking out wide to diamond the corners, it opens the door for someone like Thunhorst to stick it to the inside of Morton on corner entry. So that's one thing that he has to keep in mind and manage the gap between him and Thunhorst as they continue to battle heading back into turn 1.
Yes, and that's, we covered that earlier in kind of the pre-race, is that turn 1 there, to go faster there, you've got to take a pretty wide angle. If you've got a guy behind you and they see that wide angle, it looks like all of a sudden you're leaving the bottom open, and there's guys that'll try to plug that hole. And that's where you can see guys get into trouble. That's also where you can see guys make passes, as the other guy to the outside might just yield and give up that spot. So that'll be interesting to see if he continues, and if Thunhorst can close up enough to where he can get that nose in there.
How about the battle for 7th position between Austin Belke, Mark Herzog, and those two have been battling for the past few laps. Herzog has closed the gap between those two and is starting to make some incredible ground on him as they work across the start-finish line.
Yeah, and more battling back. Sagala has picked up another spot now. Joe Sagala has now passed Chris Wolfson, and Chris looks like he got out of shape, might have got into the inside wall there. So now Joe's up another position and gonna probably look to see if he can track down the guy that's the next guy on the track for him.
Gonna be a good run for Joe Sagala if he can maybe get a top 10 finish right now. Looking at the points championship for Joe Sagala, as I take a look at the updated point standings. Joe Sagala is currently sitting right around the 5th position. So if he can gain a few more points right here, this would help improve his point standings towards the championship here. He sits 5th. He's got a little bit of a ways to go to break into the 200s, about another 25 points, but still a great opportunity for him.
Yeah, and you see Wilson bring his car in, and I can tell you, that's a sign right there what's going to become more and more difficult. We saw him as he came off of turn 4 lose the back end. As these tires wear, picking up the throttle in 3 and 4 is going to be more and more important. You can't be as aggressive with it here late in the run. I mean, now we've gone 50, probably close to 50 laps of green flag racing. Now those tires are hot, they're sliding around, so if you get on that throttle too fast, that back end is going to really start dancing, and where it becomes the hardest to control is coming out of turn 4 there. So hopefully we won't see too much of that, but those drivers now are starting to feel that significantly behind the wheel.
It certainly is going to be significant as we watch the battle for third between J.R. Shepard, Justin Morton and Matthew Thunhorst. They working down the back straightaway. JR has about a car length advantage over Justin Morton. Morton will dive it in a little deeper with that TDR Chevrolet as they come off of turn number 4. It is now 3/4 of the way completed. 25 laps to go here tonight. Actually, make it 26 laps to go here tonight at Myrtle Beach Speedway. Great racing action here. After our first 2 opening lap cautions, we have had incredible racing, incredible respect, and patience from some of our drivers as the battle for 9th goes on between Brian Dean and Todd Liston. Throw in Mike Holloway as those 3 will go side by side off turn 4.
Yeah, side by side, man. The 3. Boy, I tell you, right there for a second there, I thought Mike Holloway was going to make it 3 wide going into 1, but thought better. No. Yeah, there went Todd Liston. Boy, I tell you what, though, that's going to bring a caution out. I'm going to tell you, I bet you there's, 18, 19 guys left out on the track that are all taking a deep breath here and then kind of saddle up. And boy, this is going to give us a real exciting run to the end.
Let's take a look at the VGN replay of what happened to Todd Liston. I think it's safe to say he just got severely loosed in the middle of the corner and looped it around, but here is your replay. Significant battle, though, between Dean and Holloway, but look right here, John. What can we see?
Well, this part in the race is much green flag. iRacing does have marbles and stuff, just like you would see in real life, get up there. So if he's up there, there's not a whole lot of traction up there. All of a sudden, he's probably going to feel like he's on a dirt track. And that back end just came right around on him. And he did a really good job of not putting it into the wall. And he's going to be able to restart, but he's got, unlike the other guys now, he doesn't have a whole lot of time here to recover. So I don't know what's left of his tires, but when we go back to green, he's going to have to go to get those spots back up.
Chris Wolfston will get the lucky dog here as he will get that 1 lap back after he came down pit road earlier during this race before the caution came out. Todd Liston will probably get the wave around here to get back on the lead lap in that number 87. James Lowe had an incredible drive, but Kenny Kibbe was still keeping up pace. Could Kibbe still find a way to get around that 99 of James Lowe?
It would not surprise me at all. Kenny is an incredibly smart driver, and my guess is he's probably been sizing him up a little bit, saving his equipment here to the end to have this run to the finish, and we'll see who saved more of what. And we'll see what kind of run, but I do absolutely expect Kenny here to challenge for this win.
A couple of things also to keep in mind. Mark Herzog will be your provisional, make it Brian Dean, your provisional pole sitter when we go to our next round for the next race here in this championship as we get ready to see who will come out on top. And as they work through turns, let's see here, 1 and 2, we should be getting the 1 to go next time by, so we'll be going back green flag racing with under 20 laps to go.
Yeah, and unlike the guy who's going to start P1 here, the advantage, the guy that's fighting for P1 next week, being Mark Herzog, he's going to start P8, so that means he's going to be in the outside on this next restart. So he is probably going to be looking to be probably a little aggressive to get back down to the bottom, not to give up that pole position for next week.
Of course, next week will be another famous short track here. The Lanier National Speedway will be the next circuit on the schedule. That'll be on Saturday, November 20th, same time, same place, starting at 8:55, only on the Virtual Grip Network. And as the field gets the 1 to go, Todd Liston will get waved around the pace car. And here is a quick rundown of your top 5. James Lowe, Kenny Kibbe, J.R. Shepard, Justin Morton, and Matthew Thunhorst, and Tim Shanoski round out your top 6 as they work through turns 3 and 4. Will we see more cautions, or will we keep it clean and green? Green flag is out, and we're back underway here at Myrtle Beach. James Lowe gets another great jump over Kenny Kibbe as they'll go single file for your top 2, but here comes J.R. Shepard to the inside.
Yeah, he's desperate to get up there and get the inside. It looks like Kenny is going to be able to hold him off and get back to the bottom here. And now we got basically a 20-lap late model Saturday night shootout here. We'll see how this last 20 laps play out.
How about Justin Morton? He's going to get around J.R. Shepard for 3rd and set his sights on 2nd to get around Kenny Kibbe, utilizing the outside lane off turn number 2. This is going to be intense and exciting. Morton working that outside lane, and Kibbe struggling to make the tires work on the bottom of the racetrack. He's going to lose the position now as he'll drop back to 3rd.
Yeah, Kenny was really fighting that corner coming off the corner, and there he is loose again. That is breathtaking to see how close they are coming out. But I tell you, right now, Justin Morton now powers himself into second place on the outside. That is a power move. He has got a lot of life left in that car. It'll be fun to watch and see if he can track down James Lowe.
Certainly going to be interesting indeed, as Kibbe is just practically drifting through the corners, trying to hold on to that number 14 Chevrolet as they come off of turn 2. He's now in a battle for third between him and J.R. Shepard. Shepard gets around on the outside by about half a car length. Matthew Thunhorst in the popcorn position, trying to see if he can follow J.R. Shepard and get around Kenny Kibbe as well. But as they work through 1 and 2, Kibbe tries to work the inside lane and power back, but J.R. Shepard, with the better tires, will overpower and take that third spot.
Yeah, Kenny has a look of, those 2 slides that he had. I'm going to bet really upset those tires a lot. You can put a lot of heat into them. And when you do that, you lose a lot of grip. All of a sudden, you're hanging on. It's going to take you 4 or 5 laps just to get the tires, as long as you're not abusing them, get the tires back to where they're under you. At that point, Kenny's going to have to go back to work. And he doesn't have the 14 laps to get it done now.
How about Matthew Thunhorst also getting around Kenny Kibbe and now sets his sights on his championship rival, J.R. Shepard. They're only separated by about 4 points right now, John. So if he can find a way to get ahead of him by the end of this race, he may not gain too much, but at least he will keep the points just around the same amount of period like he did before entering tonight's race.
Yeah, as tight as the points are, every point counts. So this position is still big. While it's not going to outright hand him the point lead going into next week, it's going to close the gap. And, as long as you're closing the gap every week, that's got to be what the goal is. Finish ahead of your rival, and that right now is what Thunhorst is thinking.
Thunhorst is definitely trying to think that right now. Austin Belke holds on to the 8th position right now. He is your provisional pole position sitter for the next race at Lanier next Saturday night, but he is under intense pressure from the 23 of Brian Dean and Jeffrey Harden, who was the pole sitter for this race here tonight, but unfortunately got involved in some incidents and is now trying to fight his way back through the field.
Yeah, and this track has been racy, and we've seen a few guys here come from the back and start working their way back up. But we're now on 10 to go, so we're down to it. So guys, the give and take that we've seen all night that allowed all that green flag racing is probably going to start going away here, as guys aren't going to be wanting to give up the spot they're in quite as easily, because we're right here at the end there.
As they work their way across the start-finish line, we are now at 9 laps to go here for your race leader, James Lowe, who has kept it steady and consistent. He has pulled out by about 0.6 of a second, make it 0.7 of a second over Morton and J.R. Shepard, as Shepard has caught the back bumper of the number 9 TDR machine as they work their way across the start-finish line, heading into turn 1.
Yeah, 8 laps to go. That clock keeps ticking down. And right now, JR is putting massive pressure on the bumper to Justin Morton here. And JR gets a little loose coming out. You don't see him make a mistake too often, but right there was a small one.
You do not become a multi-champion nor made all-time leading winner in this series for making mistakes, and J.R. Shepard very rarely makes them as they work off of turn number 2. Morton shuts the door on Shepard as they go down the back straightaway.
And they're continuing the fight over in 3 and 4. And at the corner entry, it looks like JR just closes right into him. And Justin continues to get great runs off the corner, and that's what's allowing him to defend that position.
He is doing a great job of defending, holding that second position away from J.R. Shepard. Thunhorst has fallen back by about 0.4 of a second between the Tim and J.R. Shepard as Shepard looks to the inside. He is going to now get to that inside quarter panel of Morton, but Morton will power back on the outside as Barney the Flagman just gave the high five. 5 laps to go for James Lowe.
Boy, he's running out, but boy, JR is getting great runs through the center of the corner, and he's getting closer. Now he's got his nose on corner entry. We'll see how this plays out coming out of the 4.
Ooh, Shepard gets a little loose off a corner exit, still able to keep his car to the inside of Morton. Side-by-side battle for position for second place. Thunhorst in the popcorn position to capitalize on any mistakes.
Yeah, these guys are just kind of knifing each other on both ends of the track. But you know who really likes this? James Lowe. He's able to drive away as these guys just fight tooth and nail, coming down to 3 to go.
3 laps to go for your race leader, James Lowe. He has pulled out to about a 1.1 second over Shepard and Morton. Morton and Shepard battling for second. You could see the tires just absolutely squealing on those cars as they work their way through 3 and 4. Popsicle sticks for Barney the Flagman and James Lowe. 2 laps to go.
Man, these guys are just really pushing it to the edge. From this on-car, you can just see both those cars just dancing through the corners, getting a little sideways, both of them. And they are just continuing to fight it out, and they'll be coming around just one more lap to go.
James Lowe was able to take away the race lead early on. He gets the white flag. He is trying to make one more smooth and consistent lap. Down the back straightaway, you see the battle for second still happening between Morton and Shepard. Shepard finally gets that second position away, but out of turn number 4, the 99 of James Lowe will come out of there and win the battle at the beach at Myrtle Beach Speedway tonight in the Grand National Series.
Boy, that was a great finish to the end. It looked like the 9 there, Justin Morton, just kind of overdrove it a little bit into the corner and went through a big slide, 1 and 2. And that not only allowed JR by, but Matthew Thunhorst was able to get by too. So that, you know, that'll keep that points battle real close going into next week.
It certainly will. And of course, for those of you wondering who will have the pole position for next week at Lanier, Austin Belke in the 24. And with that, we will now give you your full field rundown as James Lowe burns it down to the ground on the front straightaway in celebration of his victory. As we get ready for the final finishing results, there they are. James Lowe is your race winner, followed by J.R. Shepard in second. Matthew Thunhorst will come home in third, followed by Justin Morton in fourth. Kenny Kibbe comes home in fifth, followed by Tim Shanoski in sixth position, with Mark Herzog in seventh. Your pole sitter for next week at Lanier, Austin Belke, will come home in eighth. Brian Dean ninth, and Jeffrey Harden rounds out your top 10.
In 11th, it's Mike Holloway, followed by Kurt Smith in the 12th position. 13th is Joe Sagala. 14th is Ryan Seneker. And 15th is Bruce Pearson. Finishing in 16th position is Todd Liston. 17th is Chris Wolfson. And in 18th, we've got Jason Menda. And it looks like your 19th is going to be Ruben Altice, who had that tough break at the beginning of the race, along with Lowell Jewell. They'll round out your top 20, and that's your field.
20 cars entered tonight's race. 18 finished the race, and then 2 were sent home, unfortunately, due to some incidents. But now we get the absolute pleasure to speak to your race winner here tonight. James Lowe, the 99 machine, does an absolutely stunning job. And as we get him up here ready to talk with us here tonight after his victory, I believe he's ready to go. So let's go ahead and bring him on in. And James Lowe, you got a copy?
I got you.
Well, James, you were able to take the lead away from Jeffrey Harden after that second caution, and never looked back. An absolutely dominating performance. How do you feel about your drive here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway?
It feels good just to win in these things again. It's hard to got a lot of good competition out there, so it's hard to get a win. So when you get one, you know, you got to feel good about it.
You certainly do. And looking at your points run right now, you're sitting 8th in the points, a big points gain for you tonight. How will this go in for you as we continue to quest for a possible championship?
Oh, it's probably not going to go too far because I'm probably not going to make all the races here. Probably miss at least one more. So championship's out of the cards, but we're going to try to win, that's for sure.
All right. Well, James, before we let you go and celebrate your victory, anyone you would like to say thank you to?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank my family and friends for tuning in and watching tonight, and Lowell for putting all this on, and you guys for putting on a great broadcast.
That is, of course, James Lowe, your winner here tonight at Myrtle Beach. And John has caught up with our second place finisher, Mr. J.R. Shepard.
JR, this is John in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, John, I got you.
Hey, bud, I tell you what, I know this isn't the result you wanted. You wanted to be one more position up, but man, what a great finish that you put on there between you and Justin Morton. Walk me through those closing laps and then kind of talk us through what you were trying to do and what worked and what didn't.
Just to be honest, man, I didn't have the pace tonight, just did not have the speed. This has always been a rough track for me. It just doesn't really fit my driving style, and I've tried a couple of different things with the wheel tonight, and I don't know that it helped at all, but I don't know it made it worse either. So rough night, trying to follow Kenny as much as I could and try to learn from him early on, and yeah, ultimately James just had a ton of pace, and I knew that Justin and Matt were coming for sure. Justin's always extremely good here, and just looks like he tried to be a little bit too aggressive with the tires on that last run to get James, and I think that helped me out.
At what point did you know that you could get him for second, or was it just as soon as he started using those tires up a little bit, did it just kind of come to you?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of took off on that restart, and I was content with running in third, but I saw Justin, sideways going into the corner there a little bit, so I knew I had a shot at that point. Once you get the rear tires angry, it's extremely tough to hang on to these cars, so I just kept trying to roll the bottom as much as I could, and not use up that right rear. I almost killed it, just like he did, trying to make that pass, but just got lucky there.
Well, you didn't like this track too much. We've got Lanier next. How do you feel about Lanier?
Generally, I like Lanier, but we'll have to see what it brings. There's updates each and every season. The sim's getting more and more realistic, and they keep bringing different tire packages. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we can have a decent run there and move forward.
Well, JR, thanks for the show tonight. That was some outstanding racing. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, just big thanks to the Bootleg Racing League for doing this each and every week. Thanks to Gargamel's Kitchen for being our title sponsor again this season. That's really awesome to have them on board. And, of course, thanks to my team, Different Path Motorsports, and, of course, to you guys over at the Virtual Grip Network. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much. That's JR Shepard, the second-place finisher tonight.
Next up, we have our third-place finisher here. He is the championship rival to JR Shepard. It is none other than Matthew Thunhorst who joins us. Matthew, a third-place finish, a great points night for you after a almost chaotic beginning to the race and getting caught up in that opening caution. Talk about the drive and the determination that you had to come back home with this podium finish.
Honestly, I just was really fortunate because I had to eat a fast spray after the first caution because it's just, and I know Justin felt horrible because he thought he ran me. There was a big check up in there and I was already in the brakes, and that was just a nasty accordion effect. And it's at that point, I kind of got lucky with that caution that got me up to 8th because I had made some ground, and and then I was able to make some moves up to 6th, and then I got around Tim, and then I got Justin, and I tried working on JR. I knew I was tearing my stuff up, and then when I made that big slide trying to get to his outside, I just backed off and tried to keep my tires under me the whole race, and after that, and keep what was left of the rubber after that spin and all the hard work I was putting on it. And it's just like you said, it was a good points day. I mean, it hurts that I lost points to JR again, so my championship window, I'd say, is closing pretty quick here if it's not already shut. But I can't complain with ending up, I guess my front bumper decided to be a mustache on Ryan Seneker's car, so can't complain too much from that on lap 2 to sitting on the podium here at lap 100. So a little rough, a little adversity, but still a good day, like you said, Taylor.
Well, Matthew, before we let you go and celebrate this podium and get ready for Lanier, anyone you would like to say thank you to?
Yeah, just as usual, I like, the fact that Lowe and BRL put on such a good league and a good show, and, a lot of the guys are really good character in here, and so it's always fun to do this every night. And, Gargamel's Kitchen for, taking some of the load from broadcast and all the other bills and helping sponsoring us, so that's appreciated as well. And, just hanging out with Austin and Justin as usual every night, and, you all at, Virtual Grip for broadcasting this, and so that's appreciated as well. And honestly, I say I worry about the championship, but honestly, my championship might have been over 3 days ago with some stuff that happened personally to me. So I just need to give a special shout out and thanks to everybody in my family who's helped me out, supported me, and has been there for me. It means the world to me in a lot of ways that I can't describe. So just thank you to everybody.
Ooh, thank you for coming out here tonight to put on an exhilarating show. That is Matthew Thunhorst, who comes home in third position. Well, with that, it is time that we come to a close, but don't worry. We'll be back for more great racing action for the BRL Grand National Series, of course, presented by none other than Gargamel's Kitchen. The next race will be in Georgia at the Lanier National Speedway. A lot of great racing action happening. That's Saturday, November 20th, starting at 8:55, only on the Virtual Grip Network. For that, for, of course, myself, Taylor Burris, John Hine, my partner in crime for tonight, and our producer, Daniel Handover, we will see you next week at Lanier. This has been a production of the Skidder Creek Motorsports Group and the Virtual Grip Network. My name is Taylor Burris. Thank you for watching, and see you on the track.